This video is about media queries. Media queries is one of the CSS properties, or I would simply say rules, that enables you to have a responsive design. We all saw what a responsive design is. So basically, you having different widths and different properties based on your device. So the width that you see here could be somewhere around 600 pixel, but it can't be the same in your smartphone. So you have to change it accordingly with the use of media queries. I'll show you how. But before we start, whatever style or property you use to achieve media query, this is really must. So this is one way of saying that the viewport, we saw in earlier videos that this is the viewport, whatever you see in your browser. So this viewport width is equal to the device width. So meaning if you have a smartphone which its width is 400 pixels, then the viewport's width is also 400 pixels. And the initial scale is 1.0, meaning there is no zoom involved. So before I begin with media queries, I should give you a disclaimer that media queries are really not a best practice for responsive design. I'll also explain at the end of this session why it is. So we'll start with a simple example. Here I'm saying the body should get this property. Now by default, the body's color is white because we haven't applied any background color here. But here I'm saying if the media screen, there's actually three options: all, print, and screen. So if the media screen, meaning if it involves a screen like say a Mac or a Windows or a laptop or a desktop or say a smartphone. So if it involves the screen and if the minimum width is 600 pixel, now the width might be below 600 pixel. So if it goes cross 600 pixels, apply this style. Now you could also apply not just a element selector, you could even apply the class selectors. So the center is nothing but this part. So here I'm going to say the center gets a background color. Okay, so the center gets a background color. We'll also see how this looks in a smartphone. iPhone SE, which is below 600 pixels. So that's how you see white color. But when you do, when you see that in landscape, obviously this width could be more than 600 pixel, which is basically the iPhone's height, right? So you see in landscape, iPhone 14 Pro Max, again in landscape. Let's take iPad Air. In iPad Air, I think the width is 600 pixels and the height is also 600 pixels. I mean, more than 600 pixels. So that's how it is. So it is not only required for background color, but you could also mention the font size, padding, width, all that. So I'm gonna mention the font size as 25 pixel if the width is more than 600 pixels. So if it is less than that, we'll take the default whatever you have here. So if anything more than that, you could keep it here. Okay, I'll also you could add multiple here. So minimum width I'm saying 1000 pixels. So this should be let's say blue. Say this burly wood, and I'll increase the font size to 35 pixels. So get this till 900. To get sorry, you get this till 1000 pixels. So 0 to 600 pixels, whatever you have mentioned here, and minimum width, right? So after 600 pixels, this aqua, and So 600 to 1000 pixel is this aqua. So after 1000 pixel, it will be this aqua word. Okay. Now this doesn't looks nice, but the purpose is just to show you how it is applied. And let's say could give like multiple conditions here. Max width is 900 pixels. So I'm saying 600 to 900, apply this. After 900, there's no condition. So 900 to 1000, obviously there's no condition for which this will be applied. And then above 1000, this will be applied. Let's see that here. So this is below 600, above 600, 600 to 900. After 900, nothing is applied. And after 1000, this is applied. So the same would be if you see in a responsive page. Okay, you could see how these are applied. Now here I could just give print. Now when I give print, you could see what happens. So print shows you how this is going to appear when you print. Now you can click on print, which is Command P or Control P, depends on what OS you use. Okay, so the color is red. The color is still red because I've said the minimum width is 1000 pixels. Minimum width is not 1000 pixels. I'm just gonna say print. Okay, so the Bollywood is all has to apply. So for print, this property is applied. So when you print, even in your paper, this is what you see. So if you see now, I have just mentioned media print. And then media print, you don't have to mention the max with all that because it's just a print preview. So in media now since the media print is there, even if I resize only, this is applied. This is not applied because this is only for print. This is not for your computer screens and your smartphone screens. That's one way to see it. Okay, we will also see how it can be applied to multiple style sheet. Now, this is one style sheet for everything. Like now, if you watch the same index.html from your smartphone, or say from your any device, tabs, or say even this laptop, this is a style that is going to be applied. But you could also define here, like say style sheet, and you could say for media equal to print, use this style sheet. So this style sheet will be applied. So you have to say here media equal to screen here, or else when it comes to print, the device will not know which to use, right? So here you will use a different style one. So if you just have this as print and you don't mention anything, when printing, it will look for this style and will also take it from there. So it is very confusing. So you can say media equal to screen. And you can also say like these, like and min width is 600 pixels. You could also do this. So what happens is, now if I have this, like for everything like 600 pixels and above, this style sheet will be applied. For every other screen, like minimum below 600 pixels, this style sheet will be applied. But this is not a good practice again, because you have to maintain so many style sheets, one for this size, another for this size. I mean, even if you think about it, right? Let's see how many sizes we have. iPhone XE 375 into 667. You should create a rule for that. iPhone XR, this has a different width. Now just imagine you just doing this for every screen size. iPhone X12, see iPhone itself has like huge number of variations in its width and height. So you have to mention all this here. Now, then again, if you think about it, this is 430, this is 390. So you will say 390, I mean the max width is 390, apply this for 430 and another property. But what happens between the 390 and 430? What if there was another display? So it might not proportionally, it won't resize itself, right? So all I'm saying is, when we have a web page and when we keep increasing and decreasing this, now if you look at it, suddenly it increase. It shouldn't be that way. It should proportionally increase a bit. Okay. So that's why as I call like media queries is really not a good practice, because you have to give all these ranges, and you won't be giving ranges for every 10 pixels. Obviously you might give for 300 pixels every 300 pixels. So adjusting this, see, suddenly it just changed, right? So it is really not a good practice. That is why in future we are going to see the best practice for applying responsive design, which will be the viewport units. We'll discuss about that later. Now we'll see more examples here. So this 25 pixels and 35 pixels are something, there's a huge variation. That's because of this 300 pixel gap. Okay. We'll see if padding could be done. Padding left could be 10 pixels. Say 30 pixels here. Here you don't see much of a padding. Let me add some padding over here. Okay, so there's no padding here, but the padding suddenly increases to a large extent. It suddenly increased. So meaning, let's say you have a device which has this padding, and then you have another device which is just like 10 pixels more width than the other device. So you have a huge padding. So this conditions that you write, you need to write for every 10 pixels. I mean, just imagine that's going to be huge. So no one writes like that. People generally write for ranges of 300 pixels. But the viewport units I'm talking about is that will cover that difference now. Now I again 600 to 900, 900 to 1000. Again, I increase 1000 pixels. So you have a padding issue here. So generally, when we think about this, padding all that would be a huge problem. Okay, let me try this. Generally, it's not about changing colors. Generally, when you switch to different devices or screen, you won't change colors, but the font size, padding, and the width, height, all that would change. So this time we'll see. I mean, you could also mention minimum 300 pixels and orientation, landscape. So by default it's portrait. We'll see what happens when we do a landscape. So change the center to red. Okay. So now it is in landscape. So iPhone XR. Now it's in landscape. But landscape, it has to be minimum with 300 pixels. If I say it has to be minimum 900, it is 896. So that is no. That is why it is not applied. Here now it is in portrait, so it's not applied. So you can also mention orientation, not just a width. I mean, you could also mention height too. So height, width, and orientation you can mention as the conditions. And this is one condition. You could say whether it is all meaning print and screen. All is by default, even if you don't mention all, it is all. So other than that, you have screen and print. And we saw the landscape or the portrait orientation. The portrait orientation is by default. And you also have this. Okay, so show you another example. So media only screen. Okay, so what this means is this is applied only on all screens. I could say background color. Okay, the reason we didn't see anything happening is because it is applying the width as 600 pixels and 900 pixel, but all this does is without giving these values, this is basically this, like with this is below 600 pixels and above 900 pixels, because I haven't mentioned anything here, right? All I say is it is a screen. Now if I try to do a print, obviously it won't be in red. Again, screen means it'll sometimes work for screen and print, but it's a best practice to mention only screen. Only screen is good, but when you say not screen, this will not be applied at all. So not screen, only screen is only for all the screens, but when you say not screen, it is not for the screen, it is vice versa. So if you see, this is not applied at all.